Oh, coughing spill just before I'm supposed to go live. Of course. Hang on a sec. Hang on. Oh, silly me. What a way to start a video. Start coughing and sneezing all of a sudden. Like, oh, well, thanks a lot. Well, greetings and happy Thanksgiving. It still is Thanksgiving on Eastern seaboard here, United States. And I did a little bit of video earlier about the moon, Earth, wobble, blah, blah, blah. And I just went out and checked the moon again just a few minutes ago to make sure that what I'm looking at is what I'm looking at. And yep, the moon is way high in the sky. It's as high as it was the last 2 days. And since I did my earlier video here on YouTube, and I did one on Facebook too, I went in and I have gotten a little bit of update information on the electric universe and so forth. And it seems to me that because the moon has been out of whack, the Birkeland currents and the frequencies of the planet have been out of whack. Now, I also just checked the Schumann resonance, and we're spiking off the charts again right now as I'm speaking. It's hitting the charts. I would guess to say somewhere in about the 50-55 range when it's supposed to be 7.8. Okay, so we're the Schumann resonance right now on the Earth is really spiking. That means the Earth, yep, all the magma and everything is really moving. One of the things that's interesting about the Earth and the magma is there's a mud hole down at Southern California, the southern edge of the San Andreas Fault. And this mud pot, as they call it, is moving. And it's been moving towards the Pacific Railroad tracks or something anyway. And they keep talking about this thing because they don't know why it's moving. Okay, well, it's at the southern end of the San Andreas Fault. Well, that would be a good reason. But the fact that it's moving like quite rapidly has some of them really scratching their heads and going, I don't know about this. Well, if the moon's been out of whack, that means it's been pulling on the Earth's plates a lot. And since everything is electrically connected, it would seem to reason that there could be some high plasma discharges between the moon and the Earth in the form of some of these fires and things. I'm not trying to speak one way or the other about some of those blue flames that showed up in the California fires more than once, other places too, by the way. But it would help explain from a natural point of view, if the moon was out of whack, so would be the electrical magnetic connection between us. Now, I just looked at the moon, and the moon, if you look at it from the nose and the two eyes kind of point of view, it's tilted at about the 11 o'clock hour. If you think of the moon, now you got to look at it straight on. You can't be like, nah, you got to pick your spot. So I always do my observations looking at one way. Now, why do I say that ET move it? Well, because we've been having information on the back channels that ET was involved in trying to maintain the electrical currents inside the universe. I spoke about it before, and why are some of these big spaceships? Well, people are calling them planets and things, but I've been, stepping out on a limb with some of these things and saying, because I've seen them, I've seen evidence for it, that these aren't planets. These are some type of ET presence, whether it be the size of an asteroid, the size of a small moon, not sure. Maybe they're completely built and they're like the Death Star kind of thing in Star Trek, not sure. But the thing is there are things that I've spoke about and are easily seen on a lot of different radars and images of the sun and there's all kinds of evidence. And they've said, the ET messages anyway, that they're being placed around the solar system so that as we go through this heavy, densely populated area of the universe, the whole solar system's going through this, the dark energy hurricane, woo, um, is that these objects are being placed out there around the planets. Like Jupiter's got 79 moons, but they picked up a couple, and then they lost 7, and it's like really strange. But why would Jupiter be picking up extra moons? In order to discharge some of these Birkeland currents. Now, they can be seen with certain instruments, and I just watched, and I would refer you to it, Richard D. Hall, Hall. On YouTube, it's just Richard Hall. He's got a series of wonderful, wonderful, wonderful videos, and he just published a series about basically the electric universe and the different things, and many of the things that I have been discussing that I discuss about silly science. They try to, a comet's made out of dust and stuff, and they're still trying to give us that line, and it's like, no, but when you go and listen, and apparently, I know I've listened to some of the talks from Wallace Thornhill and Thunderbolts Project, and I have absorbed a lot of information over the years. But I got to tell you, I think some of this information is from me just kind of downloading it from the universe. It's like information that I've received, and I've explained it, and I've gone through it in my own head. I go out there and I see it in a dream state, however you want to describe it. These are my cosmic zip files that I get these downloads. And the reason I say this is because then I come upon the science that, and a bunch of scientists, I might add, who think along these same ways. And I'm going, wait a minute now. I've listened to some of their things and I like understand it, but I haven't kept up to date on all these new theories and stuff. I've come across these new theories on my own, based upon the basis of Thunderbolts Project and the electric universe. But with all the shaman training that I've had, I can see where I did a video and I talked about how it looks like spider webs, spokes on a wheel, and that everything's connected. And each one of these are like timelines. And now they're showing these Birkeland currents out there in the universe because they can see these energies now with instruments that show these different wavelengths and how they can pick them up. Now, scientists want to go with this Big Bang theory when actually the entire universe is filled with stuff. And I've talked about that before. They call it dark energy. And I've been saying, no, it's clear energy. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's there. It's because there's nothing behind it you don't see. But with as many experiments on Earth prove, if light's going to travel through the universe, it's got to have a medium of something to go through. It has to light up particles to be seen. It can't just travel on its own. And so there's a lot of old science 100 years ago where they said, so when they talk about that there's nothing in space, well, that's a lie, because there's a lot of stuff in space. We just can't see it. And because we can't see it, these idiots want to call it dark matter, when actually it's just sort of a plasma field. One of the here, let me just regain a thought here. It was given. Let's go with this thought. Think of the human body, and think of just an organ, just But what if you take an X-ray of the body? What do you see? You see the bone, unless somebody injects some chemical in you, maybe your spleen or, your kidney shows up or something like that. Hold that thought a second. I got a faucet dripping here. Dadgummit. Sorry about that. My apologies. Better do that and have a gross mustache. Yuck. So anyway, enough of that mess. But to think of it as sort of as the human body. So if you take an X-ray of the human body, only the dense things show up. So when you look at pictures of the universe, you see the lights. You don't see what's in between it. So like the human body in that respect, with X-rays, you see the bones and you assume that there's veins and muscle tissue and all other kinds of stuff in there that's holding up the bone or whatever it is. So when we look at the universe and we take pictures of it in different wavelengths and lights, we're seeing these bright spots. We're not seeing the stuff in between. And they've been saying, well, space is empty. Well, then where's all this flipping dust coming from that creates these? And it's really funny because this one guy on Richard D. Hall's video on part 3 was talking about the comets. He got as upset as I did. They want to say that these dust particles, and he's from Britain. He's like, they want to say that these dust particles in this ice just float around into outer space somehow magically is twisted and pulled together, and it's like two pieces of dust on this table. They just magically attract themselves and turn themselves into a comet with a tail. And I was like, oh my God, yay. And I don't think I've ever heard this guy before. And I think this is the new subject that he's been talking about. But to the point, though, I was like, oh my God, there are literally other people who are aware of this other than just myself. So it's like when I'm talking about some of these things that sound really crazy, I think I've tapped into the quantum computer. Now, and what's this got to do with the moon? The moon is in the same place. Did ET have something to do with this? And my point in the subject with going on along with this electric universe, they're proving that the universe is constantly on and always connected electrically, if you will. It's sort of an electromagnetical, but it's not just magnetic and it's not just electrical, but they're separate together. It's like one reacts with itself, electric, the magnetic works by itself, but between the two of them, there is a frequency between them that gets you into this electromagnetical thing. They combine, it really is, but it ain't, and it's a really strange area. And there are folks who know about this. But a lot of the physicists and so forth, it would mean that they would have to change the standard physics science form, and all the books would have to be thrown out, and science would have to be rewritten. And they don't want to do that. You're talking about dumping the apple cart out. Oh my God! When Galileo found planets around Jupiter, they wanted to burn the man at the stake. And they hold him up in a castle and almost excommunicated him, or they did. I can't remember, but it was a big deal. And so this is that kind of a big deal. People don't want to look at this science. I call it new science. It's actually old things they've really known for 150 years. But because Einstein came along and they came up with this model of gravity, which now they're finding out that gravity fluctuates. So between the Earth and the moon, the gravity is fluctuating. If we're in a different part of the universe, and our whole solar system is going through this, then the matter, that stuff we can't see on an X-ray, it's there. That's what they're calling dark energy. It's not dark. It's just, it doesn't light up until something interacts with it. There's a lot of stuff out there. And so for them to, space is empty, and they're not really quite sure if space is actually a vacuum. So is ET involved with this? Hi, Marie. Hi, back again. I just had to talk about this subject. A lot of the things I've been talking about are actually, oh my God, Wallace Thornhill, who worked in Australia there for a while, way back when. But, The idea of the electric universe and how things are connected. And one of the things that it proves also in that why and how does ESP work? And it's because when we as individuals tune our electrical impulses into these cosmic things that they're noticing is all over the place and that everything is connected, like spider web kind of things. I mean, there's some beautiful pictures of the universe with different colors, but everything is connected through these, what they are calling Birkeland currents. And just think of them as just tiny little strands of energy. Some of them are huge, but everything's connected, which also means the theory of being able to consciously contact someone 10 light years away instantly is actually possible. Why? Because everything is interconnected. And as long as you had your focal point and the person on the other end was like ready to listen, you could absolutely send a message to the other side of this universe. Well, the other side of the solar, let's just stick in the solar system. You could easily send a message along one of these Birkeland currents to another planet or a star system within our own galaxy like that. No kind of radio, blah, 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 blah. Just know what frequency they are with the Birkeland current, and it would just be a matter of finding the correct IP address for the star system, the frequency, where you're at, your frequency, and sending a zip file across it instantly. So when people are here on Earth, we're not trying to go billions of miles away. So we're feeling the benefits of this right now. And ET kind of said you're going to feel some differences here coming up in the future. And, when I say ET, I toss my hands up when I go, that's what they're saying, but now I'm looking at the moon, and I looked at it 20 minutes ago, and I looked up and I went, well, there it is. I mean, it's right up over my head 3 days in a row. Mars is still over there. I can see Neptune and Uranus, okie dokie. And I got some cloud cover down here that's clearing up, but I wasn't quite able to see Pleiades and Orion before I started this video. But from other stars, it looked like everything in the heavens is pretty stable. Now that's 3 days in a row. And, you've seen my videos before and the discussions I've had. This is the most stable I've seen the sky, especially at night, and at least a year and a half, if not longer. Now, I have been more concerned about whether or not, if the increase has happened. And when I heard the reason, that they had a war on the backside of the moon, and just last week I was discussing this, I was like, or a few videos away, I was like, I think it's entitled something about the wiggle in the moon or something. And I mean, and how the moon turns like this, right? And so I was thinking, what if the gyroscope on the inside of the moon was out of whack? And that would cause the moon to like turn its face back and forth. And then so the ET message the other day along and the backup, the confirmation I get through some of the other radio YouTube channels. I have different folks that have been consistent over the years. And so when I tune into some of these things, and the first thing they say is, oh, have you seen the moon? We fixed the moon. And I immediately ran outside and went, oh, holy shit, you guys did. That was Tuesday. And so, okay, I'm still skeptical with some of these ET things that come around, but something's happened with the moon. It's like back where it's supposed to be. So's the planets. They're holding still. They usually fluctuate during the night. Nope. I've watched the moon set these last 2 nights, and the moon has set exactly opposite where it's supposed to. It's setting in the west. It like, oh my God. My house is set up I'm facing south right now. And so I'm just a couple of degrees off, but I can see the sun rise on my left side, come up in the east through windows, and goes overhead, and depending on what time of year. But I'm supposed to see the sun set on the windows on this side of the house, and when they don't set over there, and I can see them out the south window, that's when things are wacky. So I don't have to take measurements. All I have to do is look out my windows and go, "Oh, holy shit, something's up," because my house is set up and has been for the last 35 years, you know, with north-south orientation, because it's a passive solar house. So anyway, with that said, I do these other measurements and I go outside and blah, blah, blah. But to the point, I've not seen the moon this consistent in a year and a half. Now we'll see. I'm going to keep an eye on it. But after watching, and I'm going to repeat this again, this is 20 minutes in, Richard Hall, Richard, Richard, Hall, Hall. I don't know how to do links. Okay. I'll end up messing up the stream. My brain still hasn't learned how to do some of this stuff yet, especially on this thing. I was really good in the old Windows, but anyway, the science behind the things I've been talking about, the electric universe, the fact that everything's connected. So it makes absolute positive sense if the moon's been out of whack. Now, I say we all keep an eye on it and let's see what it looks like. And I can't prove that ET did, but I can say one thing from my observations here: the dang moon's it's back. It's back. We'll see how long if this lasts. Now I can't prove it or nothing, but there are a lot of other people who are going, and they're kind of they're proving they're showing their science in the laboratory with electrical experiments. They're proving things and theories where Einstein's theories and all this other stuff has gone out the window. And I bring this up because how the moon is twisting or wiggling, its distance back and forth, whether or not it was caught, and if the moon was really out of whack, like ET says, then that's been the biggest cause for the wobble. It's the wobble of the moon would absolutely cause an extreme wobble with the Earth. Now, I thought the Earth was wobbling more, having not really paid attention, I guess, to there's a war on the backside of the moon kind of deal. We've all just been noticing that the moon's been off. So when they come in and go, yeah, we kind of blew up the gyroscope and it was out of whack. And yeah, it's been under repair and we finally got it back together again. So we got your moon back. And I'm like, you're shitting me. It looks really good to me right at the moment. It was 20 minutes ago. I'm like, holy crap. So can I prove it? No, but there are a lot of folks that are like getting the same kind of information. Now, I mentioned the Birkeland currents, the Wallace Thornhill. Let me be sure with that. The Thunderbolt project. You can type them in. I would suggest you do so if you're interested at all in about the science of these things. They're doing experiments on Earth to prove the theory of what's going on in space. But these scientists who are rogue cannot get their science papers published because of the 90% of the rest of the scientists who just don't want to admit that any of this stuff could actually exist. But the more they take pictures of the universe, every time they send another instrument up, it proves more the theory of electric universe than it does with all this cosmological Big Bang crap. It just puts it all out. Now, there are still certain basic physics that will still be true. But one of the things that, and I've spoke about this now for at least the last year, I was shocked to find out that the speed of light is not constant. It's a variable. The speed of light that they use as a constant in E equals mc squared is not a constant. So how can you use c squared if c is the constant when light is not a constant speed? And I mean, these experiments go back 150 years. So this is not new science, but because Einstein wrote an equation on the board and him and his buddies agreed on it, everybody else's ideas went poo poo out the window. So what's going on now is like, well, now I say that there are a lot of us in this awareness of science that we, like me and my tirade about dirty balls of snowballs created by, galactic something out there in the Kuiper belt, and, okay. But when you go with the electric universe and how things can be positively, negatively charged, and also when you look at the data from the satellites and the instruments they sent up there to look at these darn things aren't just made by a bunch of stuff coming together. These are bits and pieces of other stuff. Now, none of us can really explain where this other stuff come from, other than the fact that the universe is too big for stuff not to have banged into stuff over, however long the universe has been here. But then the next thought was brought into mind. What if this universe, when you think of the human body being x-rayed, the bones showing up and you say, "Ooh, there's one, that's a finger bone." Okay. If when we take a picture of the universe, what if they're just taking a picture of a finger? What if the universe is nothing more than a finger of an even bigger universe? And that because we can't see the tissue between the bones, and there are certain areas of space that are like, it's really kind of empty back there, but when they really tune in on it, there's still a lot of stuff there. And I've have postulated on this in other videos when I have talked about the Mandela, and I mean circles as in Mandela, and multiple circles in multiple ways, and that would just be one construct in itself. I was looking for my little prop. Anyway, but that in thinking of that, there are some scientists who are hypothesizing, get this, that actually the universe that we can kind of see around us may just be part of a hand, for example, of some kind of absolute like living entity. That could that like be a really ginormous being? And could that be the God source? And that we're literally our not just our galaxy, but all the galaxies that we can see at this present time is just a part of a hand or a foot or a shoulder or something, and it doesn't necessarily have to hands, shoulders, or hand, but that we are actually part of a giant organism like the human body, in that the skin knows what it's doing and it's attached to nerve endings and the brain and the heart and the blood flows. It all that works up in here. If you cut your arm or something, now like for me, I do a little, I say a little special meditation in that I'm using earth magic in my own. I go, you're going to heal, you're going to heal. You're going to heal. I'm going to keep my eye on you. You guys get together in there and you start healing. And I focus energy on the healing. And I heal a lot quicker than other folks. Hey, Quartz, how you doing? Happy Thanksgiving to you. Yeah, we got 5 minutes before it's over here on the East Coast. Did you eat pie for me? If you did, that's great. But if you didn't, that's cool too. But it's just sort of my humor for the day is, did you eat pie for me? But going back to the universe thing, so what if our whole quote universe, the matrix is not necessarily this weird kind of computer kind of thing? What if the matrix is actually a ginormous, beyond our little minds here on this planet, that we are actually part of an entity? call it, creator, source, or whatever, but that because of the plasma type fields that are they're calling dark energy, if that's like what's missing in an x-ray of the human body. So you just keep an x-ray of a hand. You can see the bones, but you can't see the tissue. Does that mean the hand disappears? No, it means that the way we photograph it or see it, we only see the bones through the x-ray. If the universe is like that, and when we take a picture of it, we're looking at it like an x-ray, then we don't see what's between the planets holding everything together, like an invisible jello, if you will, you know. And I've been talking about this for a long time, long before physicists were talking about it. I was shown it in a shamanic way, and I've been trying to explain it scientifically for years. Well, now there's all of a sudden there's all this science that's really coming out, and more people are getting on board with the electric universe and the effects the electric universe have on each of us. So now I point this out. What does this have to do with ET? I go back to this. The sightings of all these planets, the sightings of square objects in space, then they're obvious. I mean, I've seen them. I worked in theater. I used to set lights. I know how to shutter a light and to get a shadow, and there's certain things there. You just can't do that with a cloud in the sky. There's got to be something flipping really big out there that's shuttering the light the way I've seen it. And many people have taken pictures and video of it. I mean, but the thing is that because I've worked in theater and with lighting, I understand there's something else up there. Now, can I explain what it is? No. Now, I wish to accept some of this ET thought in that these folks, they move planets around. Okay. We don't think that way. They do. And it's Death Star like, but it ain't well, some of them are Death Stars, but think, if you want a reference point, just think about, Star Wars, and just think, okay, well, why can't that be possible? Replicators have been around for a long time. Where'd the idea of a replicator come from? It goes back way back into the old black and white Buster Crabbe, original Flash Gordon. They talk about some of this stuff. Oh my God. Some of the guys around the time of Tesla knew about some of these sciences. And so you don't think these guys have developed this stuff on the QT? We're going to all let them think stupid things when we've got plasma drives? What? You mean we can replicate things? All we need is a bunch of dirt. And because we need certain combinations of the dirt, but all we need to do is feed it into the machine. And once the machine has a desired amount of mass, it will literally make what you want. Now, why can't that be true? Well, if you could replicate a plate of food, or if you could replicate a part, if the theory is correct with the Star Trek kind of thing, why not? Why can't they have great big giant ones? What if that's what they had on the backside of the moon? They blew the damn thing up in a war and it set their gyroscope off, and that's what's been tilting the moon all over the place. That's what's been helping to cause all the weird ocean stuff. It would also be a huge reason why all the jet streams have changed. If this is true, if the moon stays stable here, we should see some earthly changes real soon. And I've said, ET was showing me that it was going to take till about January, and then things were going to start calming down a little bit. We were still going to have some activity, but we're going to be swinging around the backside of the sun on December 21st, I think, the winter solstice. So, and there's a lot of energy in that swing when we swing around the sun and come back and start getting away from, we won't be able to see Jupiter or Saturn and Mars will disappear, and then Neptune and Uranus, because that's how they're lined up in the sky. So they're all going to be setting really early, and we're going to come around this curve, and we won't see any of them until, well, 6 months. So we'll have basically the planets are all be on the opposite side of the sun. So that's going to affect all this Birkeland current stuff again, to where right now we're really connected. When we swing around the backside of the sun, that's going to break some of these currents. So things are going to change electrically here on the planet. And if they've corrected the moon, then guess what? That's going to help. That's just going to help in general. All of this is like thumbs up. I'm really excited about this because I keep thinking, okay, guys, are you lying to me? No, damn it. It's still looking all right. You know, 5 nights ago, I was watching the moon out that window in the southwest. The last 3 nights, it's set exactly west. I mean, like, oh my God, things are back to normal. Oh, I can't believe it. Happy Thanksgiving. Now, about the ET, I'm going to say that. Oh, and this was brought up in one of the Richard Hall just published on YouTube. Just type in Richard Hall on YouTube. You'll get there quicker than I could try to post the thingy. But he just posted it today, so it's a brand new upload and latest information kind of thing. And it explains the hollow sun that I've been talking about. It's explaining, why many of us, when we learn the frequency to the source, to the to the quantum, computer out there where each of us can tune in. I mean, it explains it electrically, and that's kind of where I've been trying to explain it. And Einstein said, I didn't realize this, but Einstein said that the ether didn't exist, that space was just empty. It was just a vacuum, nothing in it. And ever since I was a little boy, I thought this was hogwash, because there's got to be something out there. There's got to be stuff holding everything together. And I just thought of it as the invisible goo. I've talked about it, it's the goo from the universe. We don't really see it, but it's sort of like, it's just goo. Does it do stuff? It's not, it's good, it's bad. It's the goo. We're in it, Well, now they're calling it plasma. Okay, that sounds more like it to me, because you can map and see the plasma, and you can see how things are connected. But even with all these different currents and stuff, there still seems to be something else. And I contend with my original theory, this is really the goo. And they still want to call it dark energy. And it's like, wrong words, please. But this is very exciting to me. I hope the moon stays pretty much where she's at. That would just prove so many things to me, to you, and to the rest of if this wouldn't be an eye opener to those of us who are like on the fence, and if the moon stays put, does that increase my belief in ET? Oh hell yeah. I'm already a believer, but that they can, that the moon was out of whack, and that what they've been saying, and that, we'll have it back up and running soon. And oh, by the way, happy Thanksgiving. We got it back for you. What? We'll see. That's all I could say, but it damn sure is interesting, if nothing else. And I know damn well my observations, because you go back in my videos and hear me bitch about the moon's changed. It's sitting in the wrong place. Right. Well, you can hear me just rant and rave. And now I'm sitting here going, E.T. said they fixed it. But I'm noticing all these other things too. So going back to the Death Star, Dark Star idea, what ET has also said is that the things that people are seeing across the planet, of big orbs, spaceships in the clouds, they're trying to diffuse this really thick energy we're going through right now. I spoke about it before, but it seems like it's becoming even more apparent. And if they've got the moon back on track, that also, to me, that also means that what people are photographing in the clouds and everything is what ET has said. We're trying to diffuse some of this cosmic energy so it doesn't fry the planet. Because before, on a different timeline, and many of us have spoken about that the timelines have melded, been fixed, repaired, and it does seem like things are a little bit more calm in that respect for many of us. Yes, there's chaos, and yes, it's still confusing, but it doesn't seem like we're just flipping between timelines like it was a year ago, 6 months ago, even. It seems like things have settled down in that department. But at the same time, with that said, we're all connected with these energies, so we're feeling the changes. We're all connecting in our own within our own frequency. We're fine tuning our own radios. Think of it in terms of a ham radio. Well, you can talk to somebody by bouncing a signal off the atmosphere, and if you can speak Russian, you can talk to folks in Moscow. I've listened to shortwave radios back in as a kid and listening to Radio Moscow. It's like, what are these people saying? You could pick up airliners when they flew over on the different frequencies, which you can probably still do. But with that said, though, it's like, so why can't some of these other things be true? If they're true on the earth, there are things in the ocean we don't, if you swim in a clear lake, you don't really see the water. You don't. It just kind of glazes over, but you don't really see the water. You see through the water. If you got a good pair of goggles on, you see bubbles in the water. You see your hand moving in the water, but you don't really see the water. You can see stuff float in the water, but you don't see the water. So why can't that be true in space? Well, if it's dark outside and you're in the water, and somebody shines a light from above or below, it's gonna look dark. But from somebody, one way or the other, you look up and somebody's got a flashlight over and you look up. I used to skin dive, so but I'm sitting there looking up and my bubbles are going up and the light shining down. I don't see the water. I see the light in the bubbles because there are shapes, there are particles in the water, but I never see the water. Same thing with space. Why is that so hard to understand? I guess people have never really, I used to, skin dive in springs and clear water down here, well, in Florida and some places here in Georgia. And I mean, just do a little bit of scuba diving and you don't see the water. You see the results of the water, but you don't really see the water because it's clear. Water has no color, It's what the water holds that you see. Space is the same damn thing. So, but now the science is coming out and going, guess what? It used to be a dozen of us. Now there are dozens of scientists who are like, you know what? We've lived in our little box that scholars taught us. These are the parameters. These are the rules. And now we want you to explain the universe so it makes sense using these parameters. And folks are now realizing, like me and other people, it's just not me. They've been feeding us silly science for so long. And so now it's time for us to look at another idea. And that, oh my God, now we have instruments to measure that shit. Oh, now we can take pictures of it and see the current. Oh, now we can see now we understand polarity. Oh, plasma balls. Where this all used to be, quote, hypothetical. No, we're proving on the earth and then using the information of the electric universe theory to the universe. But the idea of these astrophysicists and, it's a stellar core and other things that just don't make no sense. It's like, okay, but what if there are plasma swirls in the universe that cause slight disruptions? What if there's one of these plasma balls that we can't really see, but our whole solar system is zipping at 75,000 miles an hour through the universe, and it's going through the universe in itself. But with that said, though, we're picking up all kinds of stuff. Of course. Drive down a dirt road in the summertime down here in Georgia. The clouds are going to be, the dust is everywhere, you know. If it's had a light rain, there's no dust. Same road, different circumstances. And so they want to say that every time they see one thing, everything else applies. And that's just absolutely wrong. There are other factors. The fact that Einstein, and they go by this theory still, you know, that the ether doesn't exist. And what Tesla was teaching was the ether does exist, and that's where this magic quote of zero energy is coming from. You're actually extracting it from the ether. It's already there. You just need to use the right frequency or combination in order to use it. And so the sun, they've already measured this, and I've talked about the hollow sun. Just look at the holes in the damn thing. You can see right down in it. And they want to say it has a core. Where? And other scientists are saying the same thing. Just look at the damn pictures, y'all. Look at the videos that our satellites are taking. And you're trying to tell us, oh, by the way, the surface and inside in those coronal holes is like 3,000 centigrade. Up from that, when you get to the orangish part around the edges, is about 6,000. Then when you get out a million miles away from the sun, guess what? It jumps to 30,000 or whatever. That's when then it's what's hot. So people are saying, well, the sun can't be hollow. How could it ever be a portal to anywhere? Because it's too hot. Well, wait a minute. If you look at the science, put it all together, then how come right on the sun, it's only 3,000 degrees? Wait a minute. Isn't that supposed to be the hot spot? And then you go into the coronal hole and it's like even cooler inside. Oh, well, wait a minute. I've been talking about how the same idea applies with the sun. Is like an old gas lantern. They still sell them, but the Coleman lanterns that you pour gas into and you pump them up, and it's got these one or two little, they call them mantles. And when you turn on the gas and you light them, the gas goes around this shell, and that's what burns. And it's not really hot at it. The heat and the light comes off of it. The mantles actually turn to ash. It's amazing how it works. I'm still kind of confused, but it's really simple technology. But these scientists refuse to understand, even with their own instruments, that, oh my God, maybe they're, and so the North and South Pole is pulling in, quote, what they call dark energy. They're just using stuff that's in the ether. It's just picking up energy material we just can't see, and it's pulling it into the sun, and that's where it's getting its gas, like an old Coleman lantern. It's making the mantle glow, but it's not really hot on the inside. That's where the gas is, but the combustion takes place on the outside edge. Oh, but you can't, that model don't work on the sun. Why not? Because we're scientists and none of us agree that you're right. Actually, they put it in a book and we got to go along with it. They don't want to change the science books. But the thing is that the science is out there. Now, for me, as I'm having this conversation with you, and I know I'm kind of skipping all over, but as far as ET is concerned, but see, ET has been discussing this. A lot of us who have been tuning into this is like, hey, guys, call it what you want. I call it the quantum computer. That actually, because of this goo in space, that the information is tied into all of these Birkeland currents, all these electromechanical, magnetic things that's just naturally part of the universe. And some people might call that the Akashic record. That's the library of all things. And in so many ways, that's true because everything is connected simultaneously. We can talk to Alpha Centauri like that as long as we know their IP address. We don't want to just send it willy nilly out into space. But if we knew the right Birkeland current, it's nothing less than some communication wires. Big deal. But ding. Imagine, think of the Earth as one giant modem, and that the Birkeland currents are like a T1 line. Well, a lot of people don't know what a T1 line is, but it's a dedicated line back in the day to where you got instant, Um, I don't know if they still have them. I've been out of that area for a while, but to the point, you don't have just a 5G network. You got a 100G network. That puppy's so quick. You hit the button and it's there. So, but if you understand this part of the universe and you say, well, the tower where my radio signal is coming in on my cell phone is 5 miles away. But when you hit the button, whoever you're talking to, it gets picked up almost immediately. Now, how can that happen? Well, it's radio waves. Well, radio waves, they've been funking around with that kind of stuff. Why the 3G, 4G? It's so it will vibrate and go through at a different frequency, thus be almost instant. But I'm having a conversation with here and Marie's on the other side of the planet. And, there's probably a few seconds delay, but it's across the planet. And to think that, well, so there'd be a few seconds delay if I was trying to reach Alpha Centauri. Well, if I knew what the right Birkeland current was and I had all my instruments tuned, theoretically is being proven now, because things exist in all times in real time, that we could be connected just like that. Oh, thank you. We'd get the answer within a couple of seconds. As fast as they could think it and send it, we'd pretty much be picking it up. And I've also stated, and this keeps coming back in, when people say they've tuned into Akashic records, this is sort of kind of proves my theory on this, if you will, because of the Birkeland currents. And, there are currents between the Earth and Jupiter, Earth and Saturn, Earth and Mars, Earth and Pluto. And, so everything's interconnected and intertwined. So if one thing crosses another, you're going to get some little blips. You're going to get some energy surges. You're like an energy spike. That's why we have not spark arresters. Them things when a surge protector. Thank you very much. A surge protector. And it's like that's, sometimes there's incoming jolts a little higher than normal. So we use a surge protector. Okay, well, why can't the rest of the universe be like what we're already seeing? What is so different out there? It's not. It's that they've had a crappy theory and they went with Einstein instead of some of these other guys. Whoever decided that bullshit, mass is equal to MC squared. Energy. Well, light. Okay, the constant, the speed of light. But if the speed of light is an average, and they're trying to say that the fastest thing in the universe is light, when it's obvious because of Birkeland currents, things are connected in real time. You don't have to travel the speed of light to get there. And that maybe the light that's out there is actually traveling 10 times faster or 20 times slower because it has to go through the goo in the universe. Things can slow the particles down. They can speed them up. But to say that it's a constant and that all of these stellar observations are based on an average, and that a lot of the science that they claim is true has been disproved by people of the same ranks of scientists. Those of us armchair scientists, I just am curious about this. I've been studying this since I was old enough to say, that's the North Star, And so it's always been an interest of me. But the thing is there are a lot of other people who are tying into this higher consciousness. We realize there's something else to what they're feeding us. We don't want to think in a box anymore. We throw that damn box out. In fact, several of the last interviews I've heard of people have been saying basically the same thing. Because science, and this was by a guy who was a PhD, he said, everyone is taught within the parameters of the science community. And when anyone tries to think out of it, their articles aren't published, they're demeaned, they're not given jobs, they're basically, you must go along with the protocol. But they want you to solve the mysteries of the universe with false information. And so, people come up with ideas like stellar cores. Well, if you use our sun as a thing, it's hollow. How can you have a stellar core? How can these other things exist? But when you start expanding your brain and your thought process that, oh my God, it's electrical and there's gases and there's things, and this dark energy is nothing more than the goo that's just natural in the universe. It's just that even our Earth is using it. You can see the magnetic currents around the Earth. What are aurora borealis? It's the magnetics and the electricity in the universe interacting with that of Mother Earth. Come on, guys. So it's like, I keep talking about the silly science because some of this stuff is just plumb silly. I'm not going to use the word stupid because it's silly. And because now we have more information. Every single one of us can do the same kind of lookup, do the same kind of studies, look at the same instruments, but what will confuse you is that what they're telling us doesn't match what you're looking at. Because that was the first thing that I noticed. Wait a minute. They said that's this. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the data here, and I'm looking at it over a period of time, and they just wrote an article about something, but then I'm looking at the particulates in the universe, and whoa, look at the thing and the this and the that, and oh yeah, well, no, that's okay. We expect that kind of stuff. Really? So folks that, talk about such things and deviations and, oh my God, look at that. We're getting hammered by cosmic winds. Oh, and we're getting we're picking up some stuff from the sun. You lying son of a gun. And the thing is that what is coming in is wrong. They're not reporting what it is. Oh, there's extra helium. Where'd it come from? Well, Oh, by the way, did you know that there's studies out there that claim that they figured out, the scientists in the electric universe, how a sun can change colors without going nova? Really? Now, isn't that interesting? How many of us have observed that our moon's no longer yellow? It's shifted into the blue. Really? Does that mean the moon's going to explode? No. It's the electric currents that are feeding the sun. So the energy that it's consuming is of a different density, kind of whatever. Maybe it's like going through, here in South Georgia, you're going to get into muddy clay versus sand in Florida. You can get stuck in both, but, anyway, but to the point though, so there are different materials. And so one's going to be finer, one's going to be coarser, blah, blah, blah. So the universe, we're going through it and our solar system is reacting differently. So the sun, instead of getting red clay from Georgia, it's getting sand from Florida. Different material changes the color. It's just a slightly different material. So, but we still have the sun. We're still getting energy from it. Not like we were, but so we go through a different part of the universe where the particles, the dark energy that we can't see, has a different charge to the particles. So then our sun starts burning in a different way. It's like a different type of gas. It would be like trying to use a propane um, light for a gas versus a white gas that's liquid that you pump up. Still get light, but they're different types of gas. They're still using gas, but it's a different flavor. So one's going to do this and the other one's going to do this. These are simple things that happen to us every day on Earth, but these scientists won't use the same basic look at this kind of stuff that a 10-year-old child can prove that, wait a minute, no, the universe doesn't work that way, Sonny. Now, Albert Einstein, he said that M equals the mass equals the energy times the constant squared. Now, because the constant is not a valid statement, then therefore the entire statement is therefore false. They don't teach you that in school. They just, equals MC squared. And some of that is true if the constant is constant. But they're using a variable constant. It should actually be C with a V there, meaning that it varies. And that you double or square. But, even in my silly head, I can understand that. I don't, and I've taken physics, by the way, and I've taken structural design, by the way, and I've taken a lot of computer things, and I've just done a lot of study on my own. So, I mean, I've got 2 physics books upstairs. I've got one book on architectural stress and strength, and then I've got another one that's stress and strength of materials in all different types of categories. Because I was a machinist, I studied mostly for machines versus high-rise buildings. But basically, there's a lot of similarities in there. Anyway, with that, so I do have a science background because of all the things I've been involved with in life. And I've known some of this stuff is just hogwash. But now there are more scientists going, you know what? I can't go with this stellar core thing anymore because my observations tell me differently. I can't go with this theory that comets are made out of snowballs because they've landed things on them and they're not made out of dust and there's no ice that they could find. And now they got to come up with a freaking whole new plan of action. And we got to relook at this thing. So now, but I continue going back to the cosmic, to the quantum computer. People who seem to be, this is what I keep getting, people who are accessing the cosmic Akashic record, sometimes they are attaching to a Birkeland current that they are specifically tuned to. So if you're Palladian, you will have a tendency to be drawn to the Palladian current. And so the information you may get will be skewed because you have a tendency to go there. You're kind of biased in that respect. It's not that, well, you won't accept anything else. That's not the point. It's that because if you have Palladian DNA, you're already kind of pre-tuned, okay? Now, if you're from Andromeda or some other, pick your choice, Orion, okay, then you're going to have a tendency to have your frequency already in you because that's where your original soul DNA kind of thing too. So everybody is tuning into the cosmic computer, but you may be slighted or have a biased opinion because some of these things I've been watching, just remember what you're accessing may be your ancestral side versus this is good for everybody across the board. So I have been asked to continue to explain this to people. It doesn't mean that the information that you're receiving is incorrect, but if you compare what you have downloaded to someone else, you're going to find discrepancies. And that can simply be explained because you may have a Palladian frequency versus Andromedan, and that when you access that, it's a branch library, and that branch library caters more to folks from Pleiades. And and those from Andromeda will have that. It's just got more Andromeda stuff, and it doesn't mean that one's right or the other one's wrong. It means they're both right in their own realms. And we've not been given access to the main computer yet. So I just say, folks who talk about the Akashic record, the angel messages keep coming in. Actually, these are straight ET. Okay, I got that. Just be forewarned. Take the information that you receive, share it, but say, now this is what I've received. Not that this is what's good for all of us. That's the difference. This is what I'm picking up. These are the things that I'm picking up. Now I love to compare it with everybody else, but we may be accessing a different portion of these currents. Okay, just it's not that you're wrong, just a different spot. That's all. So the next thing up is that also connects us in with ET. Now I'm not going in with any of this super space program. I ain't going there with any of this. These are just natural things. This is what Jesus tuned into, Buddha, Confucius, the Taoists, other hermits and hermetics and shamans over many, many years. And these are the things that they have been talking about enlightenment. When you can tune into that higher being, that higher thing, and we are all feeling it. Now, I see I've been on here an hour. Let me check. Milky Way. Wow. Oh my goodness. I try not to look in the box, but I hope this has been of a little bit of Reese says, I'm sticking to ground zero. I talk to the Earth stars. Yeah. Milky, you ate way too much. I hope somebody had some pie for me. That's all. Turkey, stuffing, green bean casserole, yams, and many other things. It was really good. I've had baked beans, potato chips, and a homemade Cajun dip. I still got the potatoes and the sausage in the kitchen. Marie says the wobble really messed up her weather these past few years. Yep, everything's been way out of sync. Yep, Marie says she's been taking screenshots of the weather patterns. Yep, everything's been out of whack, big time. And absolutely big time. So I'm hoping. Happy holidays back to you, Brian, at Milky Way Weekly, to all of y'all. You don't celebrate Thanksgiving down there. That's interesting. Not that it's odd. It's just interesting. I hope everybody at least see. I grew up with some really strange folks in the early hippie days, and one of the things that it was like for us is that one of the phrases was that every day is a holiday, and it sort of meant that it was a good day to celebrate anything. Now I used to get drunk and go, every day's a holiday. Give me another hit of acid. But to those folks who stayed true to the path and didn't go off on a tangent like I did with all the alcohol and drugs, they stayed true to the path, and that every day is a holiday, and every day is Thanksgiving. Every day is Christmas. Why should one day be different? We should treat each other with kindness. And so in that day, every day is a day of Thanksgiving. I mean, every day I wake up and can walk, and make it outside to feed the cats. Man, that's a good day, So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for what little bit of food I have, and the fact that I'm not really hungry. Y'all making my mouth water thinking about some. See, I would rather have a leftover turkey sandwich the day after with a little bit of cranberry sauce, okay. But anyway, I'm thinking to myself, man, I just, but that's okay. I'm happy. I got my belly full so far, and the day isn't over yet for me. I've still got a couple hours of things to do. But with that said, though, totally whack. It's so windy there today. The southern low system up here got lower than usual. And wow, man, the wind is almost cyclonic. Wow. I read about some other other dust storms too, which is kind of curious. But one of the observations that the science is proving is that our atmosphere is more condensed than it used to be. And it's like, so stuff's just closer to the earth. So all these pressures and high winds and things, they used to be higher off the earth than they are now. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, when you look at all the magnetic winds coming in and how close they come to literally striking the earth, those electromagnetic waves and so forth and all those currents, they're compressing the atmosphere down. And there are times, man, I feel like I gained 20 pounds. It's like, whoa, that is heavy pressure, and then high pressure, low pressure. But sometimes it seems like the high pressures, literally, you got to walk on all fours. It's almost like the gravity increased. And then when the low pressure comes, it's almost like, oh my God, this is nuts. But with the Birkeland currents and some of the electric universe, they're saying that the Earth actually, and when you look at the Schumann resonance, it's kind of making sense, that the Earth is actually sending out we don't necessarily have just a magnetic coil. The Earth isn't just like one. We're actually kind of pulsating. And well, you can see it when you look at the Schumann resonance. And the Earth is pulsating big time right now. So we're almost acting like a pulsar, which would be in the old science that they're sending, it's spinning around at such a rate that it's sending out these beams that make the star look like a variable star. And I've never had, I mean, I took astronomy classes in college and I still didn't agree with them back then. I'm going like, this is just some shady shit. Something just ain't making sense here. Well, that was before the electric universe theory. So I'm hoping ET fixed the moon. I'm hoping that everybody will stay within their own frequency, in that be careful during this real high energy time of who you try to contact up there. Stick with who you know. Stick with your own spirit guide. Stick with your guardian angel. Don't go wandering off into the wilderness. None of us are safe away from the protection of ourself. There's too much going on that we can get sideswiped. The angels are being very clear with that. There are folks who are trying to experiment right now. Now's not the time to experiment. We're coming around the sun. There's going to be some energy changes, and people need to just kind of tuck it in, kind of tuck and roll, stay on your inner tube, and ride these waves out. Don't be trying to swim out into the, unknown. Nah. Stay close to home. Stay focused. Keep practicing. Keep working on it. Keep meditating. But just don't be venturing into areas that, well, I think I'll try this new thing. Nah. Stay out of new stuff. Just maintain your own for a little while. They're asking us to be careful until after Christmas, basically, until we've made the turn into the winter solstice, until we've broken connection with Saturn and Jupiter, more or less, especially. But then Mars will be coming up. When we start breaking those Birkeland currents and pass around the sun, things are going to ease off, and it'll be easier for folks to do some of these things without getting in trouble. And energetically, I mean. So just make sure you keep working on your core attitude and keeping your core frequency. So dust storm was yesterday. The winds have been blowing 2 days. Wow, that's just craziness. And they're already forming up tropical islands above Australia, and even monsoon season yet. Oh, holy crap. Watch 2 form heading toward China and Korea. Yeah, I've been looking at that. I'm hoping that this ET really did move the moon. I mean, I'm really excited, because after them saying it on the radio the other day and then going outside and going, holy shit, it really is in a different place. I mean, it really is in a different place. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So it just makes me believe something else is going on, and that all the other planets and things are acting as a buffer to keep planet Earth from just getting whacked out of this solar system with all these extra energies. So I got cramps because I'm an old man and been sitting here for too long doing videos on Facebook and so forth. time for me to go walk around, and that sausage and sauerkraut's still calling my name. I know it's 12:41 in the damn morning, and I'm going to eat sausage and sauerkraut. You know what kind of dreams I'm gonna have with that one? I'll be thinking of turkey and dressing. Anyway, I wish to say I love you all. Just know there's some really cool, really strange stuff going on. And it's kind of bad for the guys that don't believe this stuff. And yeah, there's some still changes going on, and it's going to be rough till things get straightened back out. But yeah, new asteroids popping up. Right. See you, Quartz. See you, Milky Way. Yep. There are several. I don't know. There are like 100 different satellites that you can access, Miss Marie, and they're all over the place. You can access some of the Chinese, some of the Japanese, EU, and I'm sure there's some AU ones down there too. But with that said, I keep an eye on the whole planets to see what kind of thing and what's going on and what's popping up in different places. So, yep, things are acting kind of weird. Good night, Milky. Be the frequency always, all the time. And I'm going to end with the little prayer always to you, your friends, your family, to your relatives, and all over your relations. I pray that every one of you will accept and receive all the blessings, all the healing, and all the knowledge from the universe. I ask also that you accept and receive all the wonderful things in the cosmos that we have yet to understand, and that you pass the wisdom and the knowledge along to others. So, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm the old hippie hermit down here in South Georgia saying, stay warm, stay healthy, be kind.